सदस्यहरू, सम्माननीय सभामुखज्यू,
माननीय सदस्यहरू, प्रतिनिधि सभाको आजको बैठकको कारबाही प्रारम्भ हुन्छ। माननीय सदस्यहरू सबै उठ्नु भएको छ। प्रतिपक्षको तर्फबाट माननीय सदस्य के राख्न खोज्नु भएको छ? म माननीय सदस्य वर्षमान पुनलाई संक्षिप्तमा आफ्ना कुराहरू राख्नको लागि अनुरोध गर्छु र अन्य माननीय सदस्यहरू आसन ग्रहण गरिदिनुहोस्।
सम्माननीय सभामुख महोदय, यो हप्ताभरि सार्वजनिक मिडियामा, सामाजिक सञ्जालमा, घर घरमा एउटा विषयले प्रमुखता पाएको छ। आम नेपाली जनताले सरकार र सरकारको शैलीप्रति चिन्ता व्यक्त गरिरहेको छ। यस सन्दर्भमा सभामुख महोदय, त्रिभुवन अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय विमानस्थलमा भिजिट भिसाको नाममा करदौको अवैध असुलीको जालो फैलिएको र त्यसमा गृहमन्त्रीज्यूको सचिवालयको प्रत्यक्ष संलग्नता भइरहेको भन्ने विभिन्न पत्रपत्रिकाहरूमा समाचार आइरहेका छन्। यो कुनै सामान्य भ्रष्टाचारको घटना मात्र होइन, यो त रोजगारीको रूपमा विदेश जान खोजेका सामान्य युवाहरूमाथि गरिएको लुट र सङ्गठित मानव तस्करीसँग जोडिएको विषय हो। उपलब्ध तथ्याङ्कहरू अनुसार औसतमा प्रति महिना 20,000 भन्दा बढी नेपालीहरू भिजिट भिसामा बाहिर जाने गरेको देखिन्छ। यी मध्ये 40% जति व्यक्तिहरूसँग प्रतिदिन 50 लाखदेखि 3 करोडसम्म उठाउने गरिएको भनिएको छ। यही अनुपातमा गत असोजदेखि मात्र पनि 120 करोडदेखि 400 करोडसम्मको भ्रष्टाचार भएको हुन सक्छ। सम्माननीय सभामुख महोदय, यत्रो ठुलो खेल कुनै राजनीतिक संरक्षण बिना सम्भव हुन सक्ला? सभामुख महोदय, अख्तियारले मुख्य आरोपी भनेका सहसचिव तीर्थराज भट्टराईलाई गृहमन्त्रीकै अग्रसरतामा त्रिभुवन अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय विमानस्थलमा पठाइएको देखिन्छ। विवादित पृष्ठभूमि भएका यसभन्दा पहिले नै विभिन्न अनियमिततामा जोडिएका सहसचिवलाई गृह सचिवज्यूले रोजी छाडी कसरी इन्भर्टेड कमामा मालदार भनिने चिनिएको अड्डामा पठाउनु भयो? के साँच्चै मन्त्रीज्यूलाई ती सहसचिव एकदमै सक्षम सोच्छन् भनेर हो कि या अन्य कुनै स्वार्थ थियो? यो अनुसन्धानको विषय हो। सभामुख महोदय, यसरी म संक्षेपमा मात्रै राख्न चाहन्छु कि आजै धेरै विषयमा बोल्नुभन्दा पनि माननीय गृहमन्त्रीज्यू आफ्नो पृष्ठभूमि हेर्दा कानुन ब्याकग्राउन्डको हुनुहुन्छ, मानवाधिकार ब्याकग्राउन्डको हुनुहुन्छ, शान्ति प्रक्रियाका विभिन्न श्रृङ्खलामा काम गर्नुभएको व्यक्तित्व हुनुहुन्छ, आफ्नो दलको प्रमुख सचेतक भएर विभिन्न संसदका विषयहरू ह्यान्डल गर्नुभएको छ। हामी अघिल्लो सेसन मात्रै हेऱ्यौँ भने पनि माननीय गृहमन्त्रीज्यू प्रतिपक्ष बेन्चमा बसेर धेरै नेताहरूमाथि, मन्त्रीहरूमाथि उठेका विषयहरूमा नैतिकताका प्रश्नदेखि धेरै विषयहरू उठाउँदै हुनुहुन्थ्यो। म त्यो सम्झन चाहन्छु। त्यसो गर्दा हामी प्रमुख प्रतिपक्षी दल लगायत प्रतिपक्षीहरूको तर्फबाट यो सन्दर्भमा स्वयं गृहमन्त्रीज्यूले नै सरुवा गरेको व्यक्ति कार्यालय प्रमुख रहेका छन्। उहाँको सचिवालय यसमा तानिएको छ, जोडिएको छ। अख्तियारले छापा मारेको छ, स्टिङ अपरेसन। त्यसपछि चाहिँ पक्राउ परेको व्यक्ति यो सामान्य मान्छे, सानो माछो अरू छ भनेर एक दिन दुई दिनपछि नै छोडिरहेको छ। ठुलो माछा को? स्वयं अख्तियारले नै भनिरहेको छ। अहिले नै कसैलाई हामी आरोपित गर्न चाहँदैनौँ। सम्मानित सभामुख महोदय, यो सबै सन्दर्भमा अनुसन्धान गर्ने निकायहरू सबै नै माननीय गृहमन्त्रीको मातहतमा रहेका छन्। सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरण समिति होला, सिआइबी होला, अरू धेरै निकायहरू। यस सन्दर्भमा माननीय गृहमन्त्रीजीले राजीनामा दिएर अनुसन्धानको लागि मार्ग प्रशस्त गरिदिनुहोस् भनेर हाम्रो विनम्र अनुरोध छ। उहाँको संलग्नता छ भनेर अहिले हामी दाबी गरिरहेका छैनौँ। उहाँका सचिवालय अरू धेरै कुरा आइरहेको छ। अहिले हामी धेरै कुरा उहाँलाई आरोपित गर्ने, अहिले सामान्यतया नेताहरूमा, पार्टीहरूमा नैतिकताको प्रश्न उठिरहेका, अविश्वास भइरहेका बेला अझ थप कोही नेताप्रति, कोही पार्टीप्रति अविश्वास फैलाउन हामीलाई रुचि छैन। तर यति गम्भीर विषय उठिसकेपछि स्वयं गृहमन्त्रीले नै मार्ग प्रशस्त गरिदिनुहोस् र छानबिनको लागि एउटा राम्रो छानबिन गर्ने वातावरण, निष्पक्ष छानबिन गर्ने वातावरण बनाइदिनुहोस् हामी अनुरोध गर्न चाहन्छौँ। यो अवस्था नबन्दासम्म हामी सम्पूर्ण प्रतिपक्षको तर्फबाट यो नियमित प्रक्रिया अगाडि बढ्न दिन सक्दैनौँ। हामी यो म जानकारी गराउन चाहन्छु। धन्यवाद।
मान्य सदस्यहरू, प्रतिपक्षको तर्फबाट आफ्नो भनाइहरू आइसकेकै छ। अब मान्य सदस्यहरूको अब अरू विषयहरूमा पनि कुराहरू राख्ने, छलफल गर्ने समय छ। त्यसमा पनि आज गृहमन्त्रीजीले चाहिँ उठिरहेका विषयहरूमाथि केही कुराहरू राख्नलाई समय पनि माग गर्नुभएको छ। अब कतिपय मान्य सदस्यहरूले आकस्मिक रूपबाट घटेका घटनाहरूलाई लिएर केही कुराहरू राख्न पनि माग यहाँ गरिरहनु भएको छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि मान्य सदस्यहरू आसन ग्रहण गरौँ र म मान्य सदस्यहरू आसन ग्रहण गरेर कार्यक्रमलाई अगाडि लाने सन्दर्भमा यी विषयमा छलफल गर्दै जान सकिन्छ। म त्यसतर्फ मान्य सदस्यहरूको ध्यान आकर्षण गराउँछु र बस्नको लागि म अनुरोध गर्दछु। मैले मान्य सदस्यहरूलाई प्रतिपक्षको तर्फबाट नै पूर्ववक्ता मान्य सदस्यलाई समय दिएको कुरा स्मरण गराउन चाहन्छु। माननीय सदस्य शिशिर खनाल, संक्षिप्तमा आफ्ना कुराहरू राख्नुहोस्। संक्षिप्तमा।
सम्माननीय सभामुख महोदय, यदि कुनै माननीय मन्त्रीजीमाथि प्रश्न उठ्यो, यदि राज्यको कुनै सक्षम निकायले अनुसन्धान गर्नु पर्यो भने त्यस्ता माननीय मन्त्रीजी मन्त्रीको पदमा रहन पाउनुहुन्न। त्यसकारण उहाँले राजीनामा गर्नुपर्छ। यी शब्दहरू मेरा होइनन् सभामुख महोदय, यो त यही सम्मानित सदनमा 2080 चैत 3 गते मङ्गलबारका दिन प्रतिपक्षी दलको नेताको हैसियतले वर्तमान गृहमन्त्रीज्यूले व्यक्त गर्नुभएको नैतिकताको मापदण्ड हो। सभामुख महोदय, आज यहाँ उहाँले कोरेको त्यही लक्ष्मण रेखा, उहाँले स्थापित गरेको त्यही नैतिक धरातलमाथि गम्भीर प्रश्न खडा भएको छ। आज प्रश्न स्वयं गृहमन्त्रीज्यूमाथि उठेको छ कि उहाँले त्यति बेला प्रतिपादन गर्नुभएको सिद्धान्त आज उहाँलाई लागू हुन्छ कि हुँदैन। किनकि उहाँको गृह प्रशासनको नाकमुनि त्रिभुवन अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय विमानस्थलमा भिजिट भिजाको नाममा निर्दोष नेपाली युवाहरूलाई लुटेर करोडौँको अवैध असुलीको र्याकेट चलिरहेको छ। अझै डरलाग्दो कुरा त के छ भने विभिन्न सञ्चार माध्यमहरूले गृहमन्त्रीज्यूकै सचिवालयको प्रत्यक्ष संलग्नता रहेको समाचार लगातार प्रकाशित गरिरहेका छन्। समाचारमा आएको तथ्याङ्क मान्ने हो भने पछिल्लो 8 महिनामा मात्रै धन्दै 4 अरबभन्दा बढीको लुट भएको छ। यत्रो ठुलो खेल कुनै राजनीतिक संरक्षण बिना सम्भव छ कि छैन? गृहमन्त्रीजीले पठाउनु भएको सहसचिव विवादित पृष्ठभूमिको हुनुहुँदो रहेछ, तर किन उहाँलाई अध्यागमनमा पठाइयो? के गृहमन्त्रीज्यूले थाहा नपाएर, स्वच्छ भएर, सक्षम भएर भनेर पठाउनु भयो कि यो उहाँको पनि स्वार्थ जोडिएको विषय हो? यसमा अनुसन्धान हुनुपर्छ। यसमा एक व्यक्ति मात्रै होइन सम्माननीय सभामुख महोदय, माननीय गृहमन्त्रीज्यूकै सचिवालयमा रहेका कर्मचारीहरू पनि यही पृष्ठभूमिमा जोडिएको देखिन्छ। साथसाथै अख्तियारले छापा मार्न एक दिन अगाडि विवादित सहसचिवलाई सरुवा गरेको देखिन्छ। कानुनका पृष्ठभूमि भएका मन्त्रीज्यूलाई थाहा छ यदि कुनै निकायले प्रमाण जुटाउँदैछ भने प्रमाण जुटाउन दिने कि प्रमाण नष्ट गर्नको लागि उसलाई सरुवा गरिदिने। अब अनुसन्धान कर्मचारी माथि मात्रै होइन, गृहमन्त्रीमाथि पनि हुनुहुन्छ। यसमा प्राविधिक अनुसन्धान हुनुपर्छ, मोबाइलहरूमा र ल्यापटपहरूको परीक्षण हुनुपर्छ, तर त्यो परीक्षण गर्ने निकाय प्रहरीका मार्फतको विधि विज्ञान प्रयोगशाला हो। तर अहिलेको परिवेशमा के स्वच्छ अनुसन्धान होला, रोज स्वच्छ रिपोर्ट आउला त? हामीलाई प्रशस्त आशंकाहरू छन्। माननीय गृहमन्त्रीजीको नेतृत्वमा यसभन्दा अगाडिका सरकारले अनुसन्धान गरी उच्च राजनैतिक तहको संलग्नता रहेको भनेको भुटानी शरणार्थीको काण्ड दबाइएको छ। सहकारीको मुद्दामा रवि लामिछानेलाई 3 महिना हिरासतमा राखेर अनुसन्धान गर्यो, तर सत्ता पक्षका सांसदलाई प्रहरीको कार्यकक्षमा बोलाइ चिया खुवाएर पठाइएको छ। सम्माननीय सभामुख महोदय, अब हामी कसरी विश्वस्त हुने गृहमन्त्रीले निष्पक्ष छानबिन गर्नुहुन्छ भनेर? यो कुनै एक कर्मचारीले नागरिकता बनाउन गएको बेला नागरिकसँग घुस मागेको विषय होइन। यो त म्यान पावरदेखि एयरलाइनसम्म, कर्मचारीदेखि मन्त्रीज्यूसम्मको सचिवालय जोडिएको छ। प्रश्न मन्त्रीज्यूमाथि उठेको छ, अनुसन्धान हुनुपर्छ, राजीनामा आउनुपर्छ। तर हामी राजीनामा मात्रै माग्दै छैनौँ, सङ्गठित ढङ्गले गरिएको यो भ्रष्टाचारको निष्पक्ष अनुसन्धान हुनुपर्छ। सङ्गठित अपराध र सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरणसँग जोडिएर हेर्ने गरी छानबिन गर्न एक उच्च स्तरीय छानबिन आयोग नबनेसम्म संसद चल्न सक्दैन। निर्दोष नेपालीहरूमाथिको अत्याचार हामी ठुलो हेरेर बस्न सक्दैनौँ। सम्मान्य सभामुख महोदय, हामी संसदलाई अगाडि बढाउन सक्दैनौँ। धन्यवाद।
माननीय सदस्यहरू, आज आकस्मिक समयमा केही कुराहरू राख्न माननीय सदस्यहरूले माग गर्नुभएको छ। आज हाम्रो शून्य समय पनि निर्धारण गरिएको छ। विशेष समयमा पनि बोल्ने गरी दलीय आधारमा तय गरिएको छ र मैले अघि पनि भने गृहमन्त्रीजीले केही कुराहरू राख्नु भएको छ। यहाँ उठेकै विषयमा सम्भवतः उहाँले प्रश्न गर्नुपर्नेछ, त्यसले गर्दाखेरि गर्नुहुनेछ। र अब यहाँले राखेका कुराहरूको ध्यान आकृष्ट भएकै छ, जानकारी भएकै छ। मान्य सदस्यहरू आसन ग्रहण गरेर हाम्रो नियमित कारबाहीलाई अगाडि लानको लागि सहयोग गर्न म मान्य सदस्यहरूलाई अनुरोध गर्दछु। मान्य सदस्यहरू सबैले बोलौँ, सबैले बोलौँ, सबैले बोलौँ, तर विधि अन्तर्गत बोलौँ। विधि भनेको मान्य सदस्यहरूले आसन ग्रहण गरेपछि यहाँबाट सञ्चालन गर्ने विधि नै हो हाम्रो नियमावली व्यवस्था गरेको विधि। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि सबै मान्यजीहरू आसन ग्रहण गरेर आलो पालो समय लिएर बोलौँ र अगाडि बढौँ। मान्य सदस्यहरूले विधिमा अगाडि बढ्नलाई तयारी भएपछि अब छलफल गर्ने, बोल्ने सबै कुराहरू हुँदै जानेछ। त्यसैले आसन ग्रहण गरौँ र मैले समय दिन्छु, त्यसको आधारमा मान्य सदस्यहरूले आफ्नो कुराहरू राख्नुहुनेछ। मान्य सदस्यहरू, यहाँहरूले गृहमन्त्रीसँग सम्बन्धित भएर अहिले के भनेदेखि उठिरहनु भएको छ, आफ्नो कुराहरू राखिरहनु भएको छ। गृहमन्त्रीले बोल्नको लागि समय माग्नु भएको छ र गृहमन्त्री हाम्रो सदनमा उपस्थित हुनुभएको छ। अब मान्य सदस्यहरू आसन ग्रहण गरेर सभा सञ्चालनको लागि वातावरण बनाउनुहोस्। त्यस पछाडि तपाईँहरूले उठाउनुभएका कुरा लगायतमाथि छलफल गराउने कामहरू हुन्छ। मान्य सदस्यहरू आसन ग्रहण गर्नुहोस्। म संक्षिप्तमा कुरा राख्नको लागि सत्तापक्षका तर्फबाट मान्य सदस्य श्याम घिमिरेलाई म समय दिन्छु। संक्षिप्तमा आफ्नो कुरा राख्नुहोस्।
सम्माननीय सभामुख महोदय, अहिले प्रतिपक्षले जुन ढङ्गले कुरा उठाइराखेको छ,
मान्य सदस्यहरू आसन ग्रहण गरेर
यो
उहाँले के कुरा राख्नुहुन्छ सभा सञ्चालन गर्न मौका दिनुहोस्।
गम्भीरतापूर्वक सुन्यौं, ध्यानपूर्वक सुन्यौं।
मान्य सदस्य श्याम घिमिरे यहाँ आसन ग्रहण गर्नुहोस्। कुरा सुनिएन, त्यसले गर्दाखेरि मान्य श्याम घिमिरे आसन ग्रहण गर्नुहोस्। मान्य श्याम घिमिरे आसन ग्रहण गर्नुहोस्। माननीय सदस्यहरू, अब यो बैठक आजै आधी घण्टाको लागि स्थगन हुन्छ।
It's a great privilege and a pleasure to be here today with you. His Excellency the Ambassador has introduced the members of our delegation. In the presence of the distinguished guests who are here today for this interaction, I would like to convey my thanks. I would like to begin with recognizing that Bahrain and India have a deep and very, very long-standing relationship. Some of the distinguished guests today here who have been here for many generations are testament to that. I recall from history India's stand going back to 1960, standing with Bahrain. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the government of Bahrain and all Bahrainis for the consistent stand that Bahrain has taken, including on the recent developments where it has made principled, strong comments which we truly appreciate. We are here at a difficult time. On the one hand, India is doing so well. For now so many years, it has been the fastest growing large economy in the world, with growing friendships, trade, and relationships around the world. Especially in the last decade, Prime Minister Modi has worked incessantly to go around the world to build such rapport, including here in Middle East and West Asia, and in Bahrain especially. The difficult time has to do, as you are aware, with the latest horrific terror attacks on April 22nd in India, and then the hostilities with Pakistan thereafter. I would like to take a few minutes to point out, you are of course, I'm sure, aware of many of these issues, but some of the details I think are worth pointing out. Because we come here in friendship to seek your support, as it has always been there, including now. Now, the horrific nature of these attacks, you may have heard, were that 26 men were killed at short range in front of their wives and children, shot in the head, and most horrifically, after verifying their religion. Now, India has faced many terrible such terror attacks. And terrorism is something that no country tolerates. Neither does Bahrain, nor does any country. Our problem is that our terror attacks are all coordinated from one neighbor to our west, who funds, trains, arms, and uses terror as a proxy. For the last several decades, ever since the end of the Afghan war, these terror proxies have been used to attack India, because otherwise they have tried with armed intervention earlier and failed. Now, you have seen this before. You have seen this in the Mumbai attacks, 2008. You have seen this countless times. There are literally many hundreds of examples. And there is no doubt that it is sponsored by a state, and there is full proof. I use Mumbai because it was the most prominent example, and many people are most familiar with it, but I can give the same example about dozens of other such attacks. The same pattern follows every time. Pakistan claims innocence, tells us that prove it, show us that we are responsible. They did it after Mumbai, they did it after the Pulwama attack, they did it after the Uri attack, they did it after Pathankot attack, and they are doing it now. The reality is every time as more and more facts come out within few months, they are forced to accept that yes, they have done it. They're also forced to accept because the terrorists are openly roaming around in Pakistan. These are terrorists who have been sanctioned by United Nations. It may shock you to know that there are 52 known and sanctioned terrorists and terror organizations openly operating in Pakistan. And these have been implicated with clear proof in many previous attacks. And even now, this time, there is, this particular attack was carried out by an organization called TRF, the Resistance Front, which is a known frontal organization of LET, Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is a sanctioned, known terrorist organization operating out of Pakistan. They took responsibility immediately after the attack on April 22nd. It was not accidental. They repeated that, taking credit. Twice they posted on it, and the IP addresses have been traced. They are known to us. And the IP addresses are in Pakistan, next to army bases. More details will undoubtedly come out in the coming months. But this practice of Pakistan saying, no, no, we are not involved, please show proof, etc., etc., it's the same old pattern. And the pattern is that when we retaliate, they escalate hostilities and then try to take it to the rest of the world to intervene. Now, this is a recurring cycle for us. It's like a nightmare which keeps happening again and again and again. In the last few years, India has changed its doctrine. Earlier, we tried everything. We have tried talks with them. We have tried peace initiatives. Prime ministers have gone in bus. Prime ministers have landed up for weddings and Christmas and tried many things with them. Nothing has worked. We have tried even continuing discussions, even while attacks used to continue on us. But finally, India's changed doctrine is as follows. The sad thing is Pakistan has been using its nuclear capacity to promote terrorism. Normally, when somebody gets nuclear capability, it becomes a reason for peace, because both sides can do a lot of damage. But Pakistan has not agreed to peace. It has used it as a cover for promoting terrorism. Come, OSCE. Now, our new doctrine is we have called their nuclear bluff. We will no longer be blackmailed by their nuclear bluff. We have demonstrated many times from last several years, but now especially, that we can and we will retaliate, and things will never go anywhere close to being nuclear. And that is because we are not, our intention is not hostility. Our intention is to extract a cost to deter them. So this time also, our response was clear. It was very precise, very measured, and non-escalatory in nature until they decided to escalate it further. So what did we do? We hit their terrorist sites, not their civilians, not even their army bases in the first 2 days. We only hit the terrorist sites. These are the same sites in Muridke, Bahawalpur, few other places where the UN has sanctioned them, and known terrorists are openly roaming around there. These are the terrorists who have been implicated in Mumbai 2008 and other, and Pakistan has acknowledged, yes, the proof is there, but they are still not taking any action against them. We hit them, and we told Pakistan that, look, we haven't hit your army, we haven't hit your civilians, you don't have to escalate. We are hitting terrorists, which you should be hitting. But they escalated, and when they escalated, we also, our doctrine is that if you hit us, we will hit you. And we did hit. There has been a lot of disinformation going around. Pakistan has been spreading disinformation about what damage they have caused to India, etc. Of course, that is all disinformation. There are no proof. We have very clearly and precisely hit, after the terrorist bases, certain armed forces bases, and we have backed it up with satellite photos, with other cross-referenced information. And finally, the hostilities came to an end after 4 days. Many nations and leaders have taken a stand that they intervened and they spoke. But to make it clear, our stand is very clear that this is a bilateral issue and we will only deal with Pakistan. So of course people, leaders call and intervene even when there are disputes in other parts of the world. We also give advice to other nations. But while there was advice and suggestions from many nations, the reality is we said it has to be Pakistan only. And only when Pakistan's Director General of Military Operations called India and said that we want a ceasefire, we want a stop, we said the following. We said, we don't want hostilities. You stop shooting, we will stop shooting. You resume shooting, we will resume shooting. That is the simple message. So what we have done is we have paused the hostilities. Now, we want that this transition should yield some changes in Pakistan's policy. Because we cannot keep getting hit with such terrible terrorist attacks without response, and we have changed our policy, as I told you. So the urgent part has passed. The battlefield part has passed. Now it is the important part. Now we have reached out with this delegation. The composition of this delegation itself is the biggest message. My colleagues are from across the country. They're from different political parties. We speak different languages. We practice different religions. There are a wide variety of regions, religions, languages represented in this committee of 8 people. This is the true India. This is the 1.4 billion people, the largest democracy ever in human history. And we are united. We are united with one voice. And we speak for India. This is the biggest message itself. Now going forward, we have taken certain steps. We have put in abeyance the Indus Waters Treaty. We have also stopped visas. We have stopped trade, ships coming in. Because we have a clear policy that the old thing, we tried that for many decades. That we will keep playing cricket, we will keep doing cultural events, and you will keep attacking us. That has changed. Talks and terrorism cannot go at the same time. Blood and water cannot flow at the same time. So these are the steps we are taking, but we make it very clear. We want friendly relations, but talks have not helped. Cultural exchanges have not helped, and not once or twice. It's for decades since 1947 it has been going on, again and again and again, the same thing. So we are very clear. The message is clear. You stop shooting, we stop shooting. You start shooting, we will shoot. But the message is also there, that all these water being put in abeyance and other steps we have taken, it is our way of saying you change and we will meet you more than halfway. If Pakistan takes credible steps to undo its terror infrastructure and take action against the terrorists, these are not, it's not just we are saying they are terrorists. The whole world knows that these are terrorists. If Pakistan takes action against them, we will be more than happy to respond with friendly steps. That's what we would wish. Now, we are, over these decades, when the last war happened was in Kargil, 1999, we were 7 times of Pakistan's economy. When the Balakot airstrikes happened in 2019, we were 9 times of Pakistan's economy. Today, we are 11 times of Pakistan's economy. We are the fastest growing large economy, and because Pakistan's system is so skewed, they are a laggard. Now, I have, along with some members here, OICG, myself, others, we have interacted with Pakistan quite a lot. The business people in Pakistan want peace. Civil society wants peace. Most Pakistanis want peace, but everybody knows that the army there has a disproportionate control over that country, and they're the ones who keep doing this, and their incentives must change. So there will be all these economic steps that we are taking, and we want the help of friends. We want the help of civilized nations to convince Pakistan to change, that this time we have gone beyond a red line, and this India is no longer going to be patient like we were before, that we will keep on bleeding. And you will keep on doing this, and we will keep talking. And we want friendly relations, but it won't happen through talks. It will happen through these kind of steps.
First of all, thank you all for being here. It's amazing on a Saturday night of the Memorial Day weekend that we were able to get such a star turnout, and thank you all for coming. I had a chance to say hello to many of you during the reception, but some of you I haven't, and I do want to say hello and acknowledge with gratitude your presence here this evening. My colleagues and I literally arrived this afternoon, and our first stop was the September 11 Memorial. It was obviously a very moving moment for us, but it was also meant to send a very strong message that we are here in a city which is bearing still the scars of that savage terrorist attack, in the wake of yet another terrorist attack in our own country. Unlike the US, I'm afraid we've had to endure a very much larger number of terrorist attacks in India. But we came both as a reminder that this is a shared problem, but also out of a spirit of solidarity with the victims, who included Indians, as Indra was reminding me. Someone, a young Indian working in her own company, was one of the victims of 9/11. Indians, Americans, and very many other nationalities who were affected. It's a global problem, it's a scourge, and we must all fight it unitedly. So that was a very important message to convey, and my colleagues and I did that by going to the memorial and leaving roses on some of the names around the memorial pool. And having done that, we are now proceeding, as has been mentioned already, to 4 other countries before returning to the US, not to New York, but to Washington, D.C., on the 3rd of June, when Congress will come back from its recess as well. So our idea is very much to speak to a cross-section of public and political opinion in each of the countries we're going to about recent events which obviously trouble a number of people around the world and which now have subsided. There is a reasonable amount of calm that's reigning on the border between India and Pakistan today, but the fundamental underlying problem remains, and it's important that we try and enlarge your understanding of our thinking and our concerns about what's going on. So it's for us an opportunity. We will be in every country meeting members of the executive, meeting members of the legislature, meeting think tankers and influential foreign policy experts, and at the same time interacting with the media and public opinion in every one of these places. We're on our way to Guyana tonight, where Independence Day celebrations are about to take place, and we'll be seeing the President and the Foreign Minister and members of Parliament there, and we carry on similar programs in these other countries. Vinay had asked me to say a few words about what happened. By way of context, I mean, I think you're all aware that India has tried to be focused on a very different narrative from some of our neighbors. Our focus for some years now has been on being the world's fastest growing free market democracy, attempting to focus on the development of our economy, our high emphasis on technology and technological growth, and pulling large numbers of people from below the poverty line, not just into the 21st century, but into the world and the opportunities that the 21st century offers. And perhaps in that process, we had allowed ourselves in some ways to be complacent. Complacent may be too unkind a word, but we had not perhaps braced ourselves sufficiently for the malign influences in our neighborhood that did not want that story, that narrative to be told in an uninterrupted manner. We had been seeing in Jammu and Kashmir, which, as you know, has for the long time been coveted by our neighbors on the other side, Pakistan, we had been seeing not just peace, but increasing prosperity. In fact, Vinay gave me this wonderful nugget that the number of tourists in Kashmir last year was double the number of tourists in Aspen, Colorado last year. So that was the kind of not just normalcy, but growth, prosperity that the people of Kashmir were enjoying as Indians and foreigners were flocking to Kashmir for tourism. So some people decided that they would want, first of all, to attack that process of normalization. Second, to undermine the overall Indian narrative as well as the prosperity of the people of Kashmir. Third, by doing so in an atrocious manner, that is, it was not just a terrorist attack of somebody indiscriminately blowing up people with a bomb, it was a bunch of people going around identifying the religion of the people before them and killing them on that basis, which was clearly intended to provoke a backlash in the rest of India, since the victims were overwhelmingly Hindu. In fact, 26 people died, 25 Indians and 1 Nepalese, and the Nepalese happened, of course, didn't get a chance to say he was Nepalese, but he was a Hindu, so he would have probably been killed anyway. And quite astonishingly, one person who wasn't killed was a Hindu professor who happened to be able to recite the Kalima, the first verse of the Quran, and therefore was not shot, which is a very interesting message. And it was very, very clearly, I mean, for us it was not that there was any doubt about the motives of these people, but it was particularly driven home. In many cases, the husband was shot and the wife was told to convey the message back that he was shot for his faith. And I'm very proud as an Indian to say that that did not happen, that there was no backlash, that Indians held together unitedly in the face of this atrocity. The Kashmiris, who are overwhelmingly Muslim, as you know, were not just completely distraught by what happened, but there was public rejection of this. The next day, the entire state downed its shutters. There was a public observance of support and solidarity for the victims. The state assembly as well, all shades of political opinion. One of the victims, I should have added, was a Kashmiri Muslim pony operator who attempted not just to save the lives of his customers, but to snatch the Kalashnikov of one of the killers, and it was turned against him. But others, I mean, I had a victim from my state of Kerala, who was a 61-year-old man who was walking in the meadow with his youngish daughter and her twin sons, aged 6, when they shot him. And I went to his home and called on his widow and his daughter and grandchildren. And it was very, very moving when this girl said that though she lost her father that day, she found 2 brothers. And the 2 brothers were 2 Kashmiri Muslim men who took her to safety, protected her sons, and eventually then accompanied her to the mortuary to identify her father's body and bring it back. So I give these examples just to say there was an extraordinary amount of togetherness cutting across religious and other divides that people had tried to provoke. But the message was very clear, that there was a malign intent that I've just spelled out for you. And India, sadly, had no reason to doubt where it came from, because within 1 hour of the atrocity, a group called the Resistance Front had claimed credit. The Resistance Front was known for some years to be a frontal organization of the banned, proscribed Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is on the US designated terror list as well as the UN sanctions committees. And India had gone to the UN Sanctions Committee with information about the Resistance Front in 2023 and in 24, and now sadly it had acted in 25. They repeated their claim the next day, until, of course, global condemnation, I think, woke their handlers up to the dangers as represented, and then they deleted their claim on the third day. But by then, the claim had been made, recorded, registered, and reported. And for us, therefore, the culpability lay not just with the 4 or 5, we're not 100% sure, evil killers who came to Pahalgam and did this atrocity, but also with those who had sent them, financed them, equipped them, trained them, guided them into doing this. And since we knew where Lashkar-e-Toiba is headquartered, it has its not just a safe haven, but a rather generous 200-acre campus in a city in the heartland of Pakistani Punjab. We also knew where the responsibility lay. Sadly, Pakistan chose to follow its usual path of denial. In fact, Pakistan, with the help of China, succeeded in removing a reference to the resistance front from the resolution of condemnation that was drafted in the Security Council, the press statement actually, not resolution, in the Security Council of the UN 2 days later. But though the name was not mentioned, it was, as I said, a matter of public record, and we knew what was happening. India replied immediately that we would not let this go unanswered. I don't work for the government. As you know, I work for an opposition party, but I myself authored an op-ed in one of India's leading papers, the Indian Express, within a couple of days, saying the time had come to hit hard but hit smart. And I'm pleased to say that's exactly what India did. On the night of the 6th, 7th of May, it was 6th here, it was 7th for us, at 1:05 in the morning, a time chosen deliberately to avoid any risk of too many civilians wandering about or any collateral damage, very precise and calibrated strikes took place on 9 specific known terrorist bases, headquarters, and launch pads. Those included those of the Lashkar-e-Toiba in a place called Muridke, those of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the organization that is responsible, amongst other things, for the murder of Daniel Pearl, some of you knew in New York, and others, Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur, and in Muzaffarabad, which is in Pakistan, the Pakistani-occupied part of Kashmir, there were no less than 3 different terror organizations which had their bases there, Harkatul Ansar, Harkatul Mujahideen, others. And so India sent a clear message, number one, that it was not going to take terror lying down, it would answer, but equally that by delivering very precisely calculated, calibrated strikes on very specific targets, it was also sending a message that this was not meant to be the opening salvo in a protracted war, but just an act of retribution that we were prepared to stop with that act. In other words, not just in other words, it was officially conveyed. There is a regular hotline between the 2 Directors General of Military Operations. The message was conveyed that this was the intent, that it was pointed out that no military targets, no civilian targets, and no governmental targets